Caitlin, and welcome to the Lit Review. Today we are filming my favorite thing to film every single month, and that is my LitLand. So if you are new to this channel, LitLand is my TBR game that is based off Candyland, where I pick 5 different little colored squares that help march us across the board, and I can't buy books until I hit the end of this book haul. So we're making some progress. I'll fill you in on that when we get to the actual board bit of this game. But that's kind of the rough outline of what LitLand is all about. And each of the colored squares is tied to a different genre, and that's how I help pick my books that I'm going to read every month. So this game is pretty heavily inspired by 2 of the people that I think of as the big booktubers in TBR games, and that is Becca and the Books for Becca's Bookopoly and Cody's Wheel of TBR, but Cody is the lovely owner of Cody's Book Corner. So those are the 2 that I always try to remember to give some shout outs to, because they're the people that have inspired me the most. Even though there are plenty of amazing TBR games out there, I highly recommend checking out their channels. Before we get into picking my books together, I need to update you on how I did last month, because there is a potential for punishment here. So last month I had to finish these 2 rollover books, which I did, so we're good here. You'll be hearing about those in my wrap-up coming soon. And then I had 5 other picks that I was supposed to get. So these 4 here, which was Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay, Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden, The Rose and the Dagger by Renée Ahdieh, and Niccolò Machiavelli's The Prince, as well as the ebook of Star Touch Stories by Roshani Chokshi. So I have been in a reading slump really badly. Generally how punishments work on this game is that if I've started something, I will allow myself to roll it over into the next month. And if I don't finish it by the next month, then I'll take a punishment. Because I think sometimes starting something is good enough to save it. But if I didn't even crack it open, if I didn't even get there, then I have to take a punishment where I draw one of my stuck squares and don't advance any further up on the board, so it doesn't help me move closer to a book haul. And so basically I'm running through all of this again because this was a rough one. I finished The Rose and the Dagger, so that one's good. I've started Bad Feminist, and I've started Memoirs of a Geisha, and I've started the ebook of the Star Touch Stories. So all of those I need to roll over into next month, which is really going to tell you how off of a reading month I'm really having when I had 5 books to read and I kind of only did the 1. So this one I didn't even crack into. I did not get anywhere with The Prince. And you know, I realize that's okay. I do have an unhaul rule, so if I don't get to it at all, not only do I take a punishment, but I also unhaul it, because it probably means, hey, you weren't that interested. And that's exactly what happened here. I just wasn't that interested. And if I ever decide that I'd really like to read this, that's what the library is for. This is totally fine. And I think that's even more impactful because I've been in a reading slump, and this thing is tiny. It is wee. And it still didn't tempt me. So this one's getting an unhaul, and I will be taking 1 punishment square for it. But I'm actually, totally okay with that. It's not that big of a deal. The others will be rolled over into December for finishing, and hopefully I don't have to take any additional punishments then, but we'll see. So without further ado, let's get into it. You'll see on the board what I picked for a punishment. So this is where we were last. We had our 2 punishments, an actual stuck square, and then we ended, as you can see, on a yellow. So Wilbur is chilling right there. These are our used up cards. So these are now gonna go here. And then we have our pile of cards to pull from, our stuck squares and or punishment squares. And the challenge squares are the ones in that pinky purple color. So I am gonna take a punishment, as you saw, but I'm only taking 1 this month instead of 2. So let's get that over with. Oh, okay, this is actually kind of good. Oldest unread on my Kindle. Okay, so I decided to just do the punishment one first, and that was pulling my stuck square, and this one is oldest unread on my Kindle. So here's my iPad, fancy little composition bookcase, and so we're gonna find out together what the oldest on my Kindle is, because I don't know. I use my iPad and have a Kindle app as opposed to actually using a Kindle. So the first unread book on my Kindle is The Prince with No Heart by Emma Hawley. Pretty sure that's an erotic romance. Cool. I'm actually not mad at this at all. This is a great punishment. So I'm pretty sure that this is like a little novella where a young man has been cursed by a fae to be like cold-hearted. So he's not going to have emotions, but then he has also been blessed by a different fairy with the synopsis says an unflagging sword. So we're in for some foolishness. I'm very happy about it. Best punishment ever. Before I get into my next picks, I neglected to mention earlier that I will be participating in 2 different readathons this November. So I will be doing the paranormal romance readathon, which you should already see a TBR for that up on my channel. So I will link that up above. I'm gonna try to squeeze some of these in here, but I don't know how super necessary that's gonna be because a lot of them are very short and Kindle novellas. But I'm also gonna be doing the 1000 Doors readathon, which is throughout the whole month of November. So with those 2 readathons, I'm gonna try really hard for my LitLand TBR to pick smaller books whenever possible, especially because with the 1000 Doors readathon, which I'll be doing vlogs for, they're kind of like you have to read the book and then go watch another video and kind of like choose your own adventure that way, so I can't really predict what's gonna happen there. But just for context, that's what's going on with me this November. I'm gonna try to force myself out of this reading slump by reading a lot of paranormal romance and hopefully having some fun with some other quirky readathons. So those are the goals. But now I'm gonna pick the remaining 4 picks for my TBR, and those will all help me advance towards the book haul. Oh, okay, another yellow. I feel like we've been seeing a lot of yellow recently. Maybe that's just me. But yellow is young adult, so I'm never mad at seeing that pop up. So let's see what we've got. Okay, so this might seem a little out of left field because you haven't seen the video that I'm hoping will actually go up after this video. Yeah, Pride by Ibiza Boy. So not only is this like a gorgeous intricate cover that has like embossing on it, I just love running my fingers over that for like a tactile sensation, but I really love the color saturation. It is a hardback with a beautiful pink, and then look at these end papers. They're gorgeous. So yeah, it's just some of the best graphic design on a book and covers that I've seen. But more importantly, this is a kind of Pride and Prejudice retelling where the main character is Afro-Latina and it feels like her neighborhood is being gentrified and that she's really struggling with some of like the class cultural dominance and the new Darcy family that just moved in. She really feels like the oldest brother kind of looks down on her. And she's trying to like wrangle her 3 younger sisters, do college applications, and then also has like these kind of standoffs with the older brother of the new family in town. So I'm probably grossly reducing this plot, but I'm really interested in any kind of retellings. And Pride and Prejudice is one of my favorite books, so I'm always going to be a little bit of a sucker for a Pride and Prejudice retelling. So I'm actually like super excited to be able to add this to my TBR. Ooh, 2 red. Ooh, this is actually super helpful. 2 red equals 2 romance picks, so I'll have to pick 2 different romance novels to fit this. So even though I am doing the paranormal romance readathon, I will use one of my picks and like sneak it in, but I actually have a book out from NetGalley that I'm like way out overdue on reading and giving feedback on. So I need to get better at that so that I can actually get more books from NetGalley. So the first one is It's Been a Pleasure, Noni Blake by Claire Christian. I believe this book is already out. So again, shame on me. So what I understand about this book is that it's kind of a romantic comedy, but with the idea of like needing to love yourself first being the ultimate lesson. At least that's kind of how it's pitched in some of the pull quotes and cover materials. And so it's kind of that delightfully flawed heroine learning to find their own way in life. But it seems really cute. It seems really earnest. I'm hoping to really enjoy it. And yeah, it'll help me take my first big step in NetGalley. I haven't actually reviewed anything yet, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And then the next pick for my second romance selection, I'm gonna go with Sanctuary by Alexandria House. This is something that I found on my Kindle through Kindle Unlimited. And if you watch my paranormal romance readathon TBR, you know that I'm kind of leaning heavily on my Kindle situation to try to get through that and like meet all the prompts. But Sanctuary came up and like as like a community tag for paranormal, although the summary of it, I'm not quite sure how the paranormal part comes into play yet. So it definitely has a bit of that like star-crossed lovers element to it. The summary online is very minimal, so I don't know a ton. And I've never read any Alexandria House before. So I'm kind of going into both of these picks without a lot of knowledge, and that's kind of exciting. I'm hoping that, you know, gets me pumped for whatever comes next. But yeah, I love to see it. You love to see the double romance on this channel. One blue is One Blue for Nonfiction. This is one that's also I feel like has been coming up a lot in the past couple of months, but I'm not mad at it. Getting through some nonfiction is always a good thing. I think I have something on my priority shelf that is gonna fit for this, so let's see what I can pluck off. Perfect, we're gonna go for it. So this is, again, one of the books that has been on my, like, these books will self-destruct, and so I'm gonna finally get to it, hopefully. But this is Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott, and it is a book that's, as much of it is a memoir as it is like an inspirational writing guide. A thoughtful memoir on writing and like what it means to be a writer and like what kind of memories she has associating with craft and like the desire to write. And so I've had this since I was in high school. I've had this for a very long time because it got recommended to me as somebody that was like really deeply interested in creative writing. And I still am. Like, I know that for some people you may be really familiar with like National Novel Writing Month, or like I just in my head just go straight to Nano. Or NaNoWriMo. So I have never done NaNoWriMo. I am so stressed at work right now that I don't think I can squeeze in writing a novel into my November. But I've always wanted to go back to writing. My first degree was in creative writing and literature. And then I kind of pivoted into film studies. So my master's and my doctorate are in that. But like, this has never, the drive to write and be creative has never gone away. So I want to see if this sparks something or if this resonates with me. And this will be my nonfiction pick for November. One orange. You don't get to see these very often. These are my little handmade cards because the set that I bought didn't come with a full set. Okay, and last but certainly not least, we have one orange. And orange is fantasy or sci-fi. So again, with the spirit of trying to think small so that I can actually get through my TBR this month and enjoy my readathon experience, I think I have the perfect book for this pick. So this book came in my October page 1 unboxing, I think. So this is All Systems Red by Martha Wells, and it is part of the Murderbot Diaries series. So it is a novella, and I think there are several of these out and about, maybe I'm making that up. So this is set in a space-oriented future where teams of scientists regularly go out on exploration, and one of these scientific teams have kind of like grabbed a government AI bot that is really the main perspective of this novel, as far as I can tell. It refers to itself internally as a murder bot and really just wants to be left alone to figure out its own like existential crisis. But the scientists, when they're out on their mission, realize that a neighboring one has gone dark and they want to figure out what happened. So of course they take their AI along. So I'm really curious about this coming from the perspective of an AI. I don't read that much science fiction compared to fantasy. So we're gonna see how this goes, but I'm actually really stoked that it's so small and that I'll be getting to one of my page 1 books. Okay, so what I'm gonna hold up is not gonna look like much because 3 of the books that I'm gonna read this month are coming to you from my Kindle. So it will be these 3 plus 2 Kindle romances. Actually 3 Kindle romances, because the other one is the oldest one on my Kindle. This is gonna be, I think, a really nice, easy month, which I desperately need. The last couple months have been very hectic and draining, and I'm hoping to pull myself out of a slump with these short, fun reads. I'm also so excited that there's so much romance in my future. I've been really kind of craving that lately as kind of like an escapism and just general enjoyment thing. So stay tuned for my October wrap up. I'll be doing vlogs for the readathons I'm involved with, which hopefully you'll be seeing some of these in. And then of course I will check in with you again TBR wise to see how I actually did on these. But so I have 6 books that I'm reading for November, despite the fact that I only have 3 physical. I'm very, very excited about how this is gonna go. So thank you for spending time with me. I hope you have a fantastic reading day. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of me or this channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!